Hey guys, I'm going to go over the 7 principles of the Constitution. I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes as fast as I can. So if you have any questions, please let me know in class. So this is just an overview of 7 principles of the Constitution. First one being popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty. The government's power or strength comes from the population. What does that mean? It means, well, let's look at the word itself. Popular meaning the people. Sovereignty meaning to rule. So the people rule. We actually rule over ourselves. We don't have some high and mighty king that makes the laws, enforces the laws, and judges us on everything. No, we actually elect people to rule over us. Okay, so the people that rule over us do so only because we allow them to. That's called self-government, right? We govern over ourselves. We, the people, rule over ourselves. So we elect people to do that. We vote for them. And then if we don't like the job that they're doing, what do? Elect somebody else next time, right? It's a beautiful thing. Next, federalism. Federalism, this idea that power is shared between the state governments and the federal government. All right, so what's that look like? Well, it basically says that the state governments don't have all the power, and that the federal government doesn't have all the power either. Some of the states have some powers. The federal government has some powers. They actually share some powers, like taxing. The state taxes us. The federal government taxes us too. But the states also have some of their own powers that they deal with, like, for example, dealing with stuff with our schools. Okay? Each state has control over its own education system, and that's not something that the federal government deals with. However, the federal government does certain things that, say, Illinois does not have the power to deal with, like, for example, declaring war. Illinois does not have the power to declare war on Canada. Only our federal government can do that. So as you can see, the states have some powers and the federal government has other powers. So they have to share power, right? All right, let's move on to the next one. Uh-oh. Next one is limited government, guys. Everyone, even the President of the United States, has to follow the laws of the Constitution. So we have the President, we've got Congress, and they are our government. All right? So as our government, we did not want to go back to the days of monarchies and kings where they had unlimited power. They could do whatever they wanted. They didn't even have to follow their own laws. And often they did not. So we made sure that in our Constitution it was built in that even if you're president, even if you're Vibo, even if you're Joe, you have to obey the laws of the Constitution. That is called limited government. So I have to follow the laws, you have to follow the laws, but also our government has to follow the laws. So they are limited in what they can do. Okay? All right. Next, let's see if I can do this without having problems. Okay. Individual rights. Individual rights. Personal liberties and freedoms must be guaranteed and protected from abuses from our own government. What does that mean? Well, they did that through a Bill of Rights, right? So we have personal liberties and freedoms that we have. For example, the freedom of speech. If you don't like the government, you can actually speak out against it. You can protest. If you want to start a newspaper, you can make a newspaper. Okay? The government cannot limit your voice. All right? That's one example of a personal liberty or a freedom. And it's guaranteed to us that the government cannot abuse us by taking away those liberties. And we see that in the Bill of Rights. Certain rights that we have are guaranteed in the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to protest, right to bear arms, Um, you, search and seizure. Cops can't just come into your house for whatever reason. They got to have a good reason and a warrant, things like that. So we are protected. We have certain liberties and freedoms that are protected. Okay, and you see that with the Bill of Rights. So we have these individual rights. All right, republicanism. Republicanism. People vote for their representatives to govern them. Now, you probably have seen something called a democracy. Okay? We do not live in a true democracy. In a true democracy, everyone would vote on every law all the time. And as you can imagine, that would get really time consuming. And plus, I don't really know that much about environmental law, or I don't know much about OSHA, or I don't know about certain things that they vote on in Washington. So what did we create? We created a republic. Republicanism, yes, that should look familiar. We live in what's called a republic. In a republic, we don't have we don't govern directly. We have representatives that do that business for us. We have representatives that create the laws. We have representatives that discuss and vote for certain laws to be made. We also have a representative for us to enforce the laws. That's our president, right? So do we directly govern? No. We have a republic in which we vote for people to represent us. Okay? We have senators. We have people in the House of Representatives that do that. And so that's how we govern. We govern through people that we elect doing that for us. Okay? That is called republicanism. Republicanism because we have a republic. And if you notice these REP, republicanism, representative, right? We live in a representative government in a republic. Just a quick trick to remember that one. All right, separation of powers. A long time ago, a really smart guy named Montesquieu came up with this idea. You know what? I don't like that kings can just have all the power bunched into one place. The kings make the laws. The kings would enforce the laws. The kings would be the judge and the jury, right? So what this idea, this philosophy came out to think of this idea? Well, why don't we just separate the powers? So that's what we did in our Constitution. The national government, our national government is divided into 3 branches. That's right. It's divided into the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. So we've got Congress, who makes laws, executive branch, which is the president, who enforces the laws, make sure everyone follows them, and the judicial branch, which are the courts, right? And we do that. I'll explain exactly why we do that. But mostly it's to make sure that one does not have all the power, okay? It's going to make more sense on my next explanation here. So the last one is checks and balances. Each branch of government checks on the other 2 branches to make sure they don't abuse that power. Well, it's nice that we have 3 branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial. And why is that nice? Because we've created in our Constitution ways for the legislative branch to make sure that the executive branch doesn't do what doesn't abuse their power. We've made ways for the executive branch to have some power over the judicial branch. We've made ways for the judicial branch to have some power over the executive branch. For example, the legislative branch makes laws, but the president can veto laws. The executive branch, the president can choose a judge, but the Senate has to approve that decision. So this idea of checks and balances is really nice because it allows each of the branches to make sure that they don't abuse their power. They check on each other, which balances everything out, right? Guys, so that's it. That's all I got time for. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask. This is just one little extra tidbit, little extra way for you to learn about some of these principles of the Constitution. All right, hope you have a great day. Peace. I'm out of here.